Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And I guess today I'm going to talk to you about how to deal with certain sensitive topics when you're writing about them in books. So, without further ado, let's get on to the rest of the video. So, if you see me looking down, I'm just looking down on my notes. So, I'm just trying to make sure that I formulate my words properly and give you the best tips that I can offer. So, yes, let's go. First, when you're writing about sensitive topics such as mental health or mental illness, you want to educate yourself thoroughly about the mental illness in hand. So, if you're talking about bipolar disorder or if you're talking about PTSD or any of the sorts, make sure you do your research about the health condition, about what it is about, and make sure that you don't say the wrong things. Make sure that it's very um you educate yourself especially about the specific mental illness so that you don't give in to stereotypes. So make sure you read first-hand accounts and memoirs about the book, I mean, that you're trying to write about, like the mental illness that you're trying to write about. And also, like, it would be also good if you probably bought the book, the DSM-5. I think that's what we're on up to now. The DSM-5 is like a manual full of mental illnesses that people have, and it gives you the definition and the classifications, and also the number of weeks that a mental illness has to be in order to be classified a mental illness. So like make sure that your book has all the right information so that you know what you're talking about and you're not just saying certain things that you heard or certain things that you didn't experience. Especially if you didn't experience it, it will be easier for you to like talk about certain things if you have like more information about it. So also consult reliable resources such as the National Institute of Mental Health or the World Health Organization for scientifically accurate information on symptoms about mental illness. And if you're writing about a specific cultural or regional context, ensure that your research reflects how mental illness is understood and or stigmatized in that context. So moving forward, also try to avoid stereotypes and stigmatizing language, especially since certain languages is outdated and you don't want to use those type of language when you're talking about somebody who has a mental illness. So use respectful first person language. It's important to treat mental illness with the same care and respect that you would any other diagnosis, right? So we want to avoid glorifying or romanticizing mental illness as well, and challenge stereotypes. Don't try to like, if your character has a mental illness issue, and avoid portraying them as violent, helpless, or purely defined by their condition. Like help them to like move beyond their illness and treat themselves as if they were a normal person, because they are a normal person and they just have a illness that some people might define them by. But try to make them overcome their illness and try to make them be live beyond what they think they are and what other people might have projected onto them. So don't try not to like um have your character in a negative light. Whoever Whichever character, if it's the first character, the main character that is having that mental illness, then try to avoid talking bad about the person in a negative light. So the third thing that I want you guys to realize is create realistic multi-dimensional characters. Develop your characters beyond their mental illness. So mental illness is only just one aspect of a character or a person, right? We want to make sure that the character is dimensional, meaning that they're multifaceted, that they have other interests and other things beyond just their mental illness, right? So avoid reducing your character to mental illness tropes or tragic victim. unstable villain or a cursed artist or something like that, right? We don't want to make people feel like something is wrong with them or try to put box them into one aspect of themselves, right? Avoid using mental illness as a plot device. If you're if you include a mental health challenge in your story, ensure it is integrated meaningfully into your character's arc and overall plot. So make sure that is like is you avoid like trying to make your character feel like that's the only thing that's defined they're defined by, right? Ensure that your character's experience with mental illness are grounded in reality. So like make it realistic about that person and how it affects them in their everyday life, but also try to like do certain things where you show the complexity of living with mental illness in a way that reflects realistic experiences, such as like their everyday life, how it impacts them, the places that they have to go to in order to like deal with their mental illness. Like if they go to counseling, how is that aspect of their life are, and yeah, make it realistic. Don't make it unrealistic, like from stereotypical ways that other people have talked about mental illness, but try to talk about it in a special way where is where you're talking about it as a realistic way. So that's why reading firsthand accounts of people with mental illness would be very and very important, so that you can see certain things that you can include in your book. So showcase the range of experiences, highlight diversity and mental health experiences. Mental illness can look different for each person people from different backgrounds. So like people have different ways that they cope with their mental illness, especially since if for example African people like they don't really listen to people who have mental illness, and they really think that mental illness is not a thing, and because they didn't grow up learning about mental illness, and they also grew up with a religious background, so like religion plays a large role in why certain people don't ask for help, because they think that they can just pray away whatever is going on in their life, which yes, that's true, but I also believe that God gave us people that are out there to help us manage our symptoms, and also medicine is also something that can also help manage your symptoms. So consider factors such as age, gender, cultural background, socioeconomic status, or family history. Because family history also can play an impact. If somebody in your family had mental illness, then most likely is gonna impact you in your everyday life as well. So yeah, some people may experience mental illness intermittently, while others may experience it constantly, and show different trajectories of for mental health, such as treatment, coping mechanisms, and personal growth may vary. So try to show that in your story. Also, addressing treatment and recovery. Portray treatment in a balanced way. Like depict mental health treatment realistically, whether it's therapy, medication, or other forms of care. I know that certain mental illnesses they have medicines that's there, but try not to talk about the medicine. Just say that they have medicine that is out there. But if you name a brand, you could most likely get into trouble for naming the brand in your book. So try to be careful about that. But you can mention that, oh, the person has taken like depression medication for their illnesses, right? Also, if they receive counseling, also talk about counseling, and probably talk about a scene in the video. I mean, not in the video, in the book, where the person has like a counseling session with their therapist. That would be probably nice also to talk about. Um, so if your person is doing something with therapy, show that therapy can be a process, that there are different approaches such as cognitive behavioral, dialectal behavioral therapy, psychoanalysis, If they have medication, if your character is on medication, show the complexities the of this choice. Medications for mental health often comes with side effects, so also maybe you want to talk about some of the side effects that happen. The right choice may be a long and frustrating journey for some people, so maybe talk about the realistic impacts of how medication is on the person, and highlight recovery and self care. So, recovery or management of mental illness is often a long term process that involves setbacks, breakthroughs, and various coping strategies. So, just make sure that you talk about that in your story. Be mindful of triggering content because mental illness is very triggering sometimes for certain people. So, make sure that you're mindful of that. Uh, Mental health topics can be triggering to readers who have experienced similar situations. So consider providing a content warning at the start of your chapters and that deal with heavy topics like self harm, suicide, or trauma. Um, this allows sensitive readers to prepare themselves or opt out if needed. So if they feel uncomfortable reading those chapters, they have a way to opt out. So I'm gonna also include that in my story because my story has a tragic issue that happens in the chapter 7. So I will try to make that a note to put a trigger warning at the beginning of the start of the chapter so that people can know, or like so people can know what to know ahead, so people can know what to expect ahead. I'm sorry. Avoid glorifying harmful behavior. Be cautious not to romanticize behavior associated with mental illness, such as self harm or suicide, because certain things is just very triggering for people. Because if you try to make it like romanticized, people might think that, oh, these things are good to do, and it's really not good to do that, to harm yourself. So yeah. um, Consult sensitivity readers. Sensitivity readers are people who read your book that show like so if you want to hire like sensitivity readers, one of the most impactful ways to ensure your portrayal of mental illness is an authentic and respectful is to work with sensitivity readers, individuals who've lived the experience with the mental health condition that you're writing about, and they can provide valuable feedback on how your writing might be perceived by others and those who are directly impacted by mental illness. So yeah, try to do that. Sensitivity readers can point out potential inaccuracies, harmful language in areas where you might unintentionally perpetuate stereotypes or stigmas. So they really are helpful and useful in those things. I think you might be able to find them on Fiverr. I don't know, if you type in sensitivity reader, you might be able to find out how to find those people that can be able to make sure your book doesn't have language that's stigmatizing or romanticizing, and they make sure that your book is very nice and portrays the story the way you want it to be portrayed. Avoid oversimplification. Complexities of mental illness. Mental health issues are not simple, they are complex and often involve a combination of biological, psychological, and social factors. Avoid presenting mental illness in overly simplistic terms. For example, depression isn't just feeling sad, and anxiety isn't just worrying too much. There's like a complexity of things, range of things that happens with people who have anxiety or depression or whatever mental illness that you are looking to write about your characters, especially if you're writing a fictional book about those kind of characters. So be nuanced. Recognize that there's no single narrative for mental illness. Show the messiness of living with mental illness conditions, the good days, the bad days. The recovery is like a step. Sometimes it's not a linear trajectory. it's like you have ups and downs every day, some every month sometimes. Like every day is not going to be the same day. So just try to be nuanced in that way and you'll be fine. um Show support systems and relationships, like friends and families that care and support the person is very integral into the part of their recovery. So just show like how their relationships with their families and their friends are, or if they have boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever is in their life that really cares about them. Show that. Stigma and isolation. So, mental health illness often comes with stigma, and you can portray this aspect by showing how your character deals with societal misconceptions, misunderstandings, and others, or the feelings of feeling isolated. Because sometimes it's very isolating because you don't have anybody else to talk to about your problems other than your therapist, and you don't have other people around you that might be going through the same thing about mental illness. So mental illness can be really lonely, and I just want you to like incorporate that into your story, like show how they're feeling sometimes, some days, and yeah. So consider your impact on readers, empathy and awareness. Remember that your many readers will relate personally to the mental health issues you're talking about or you're writing about. Be mindful of the responsibility you have as an author in shaping perceptions and providing a safe and respectful space for readers to connect with your writing. So readers might have like be able to relate to you just because you wrote a book about something that they're facing. And sometimes I feel like a lot of people steer away from talking about mental illness because they don't have enough information about it, or they haven't experienced it themselves. But like talking about it is very important because it is something that impacts a lot of people in this world, and it's something that needs to be talked about, especially since it impacts a lot of people in their daily functioning and in their daily lives, and and impacts them in general. So just try to talk about that. Offer hope and or understanding. While it's important to show the challenges that come with mental illness, consider offering some hope, healing, or understanding in your story. Readers may appreciate seeing a character who works towards managing their mental health or finding a path to recovery. So like just try to like talk about the good things that give them hope that they can overcome certain things with their mental illness. Although it will be long term that they will have this force for some people. It's also important to like try to like talk about like give them hope and stuff that they can hope towards. But other than that, I hope that you like this video and that it gave you some tips on what to do when you're writing about mental illness or serious topics in that regard. And if you did like it, give it a big thumbs up. Also, comment down below what more tips that I could have included into this video to help other people. And if you also are struggling with mental illness and you want to write about it and write about your experiences, go ahead, write about it, because there's more books that needs to be talked about and for as regards to that. And if you did like it, please consider subscribing. I have more videos about my writing journey and me being an author for the second time. So if you like videos like that and you want to support me, please consider subscribing. And if you're going to subscribe, please turn on post notifications so you can be notified every time your girl upload a video. And with that being said, be encouraged that books about mental illness is something that needs to be heard and talked about, and be encouraged that your book is going to sell. And even if it reaches one audience, then it's somebody that will read your book and be able to take something from it and be able to be motivated by their circumstance and not be defined by it. So with that being said, have a wonderful day and God bless and bye.